alkahest was the spirit of salt. And now we may ask, how can a will manifest itself intelligently and unconsciously at the same time? It is difficult, if not impossible, to conceive of intellection apart from consciousness. By consciousness, we do not necessarily imply physical or corporeal consciousness. Consciousness is a quality of the sentient principle, or in other words, the soul, and the latter often displays activity even while the body is asleep or paralyzed. When we lift our arm mechanically, we may imagine that we do it unconsciously because our superficial senses cannot appreciate the interval between the formulation of the purpose and its execution. Latent as it seemed to us, our vigilant will evolved force and set our matter in motion. There is nothing in the nature of the most trivial of mediumistic phenomena to make Mr. Cox's theory plausible. If the intelligence manifested by this force is no proof that it belongs to a disembodied spirit, still less is it evidence that it is unconsciously given out by the medium. Mr. Crooks himself tells us of cases where the intelligence could not have emanated from anyone in the room, as in the instance where the word "however," covered by his finger and unknown even to himself, was correctly written by Planchette. No explanation whatever can account for this case. The only hypothesis tenable, if we exclude the agency of a spirit power, is that the clairvoyant faculties were brought into play. But scientists deny clairvoyance. And if, to escape the unwelcome alternative of accrediting the phenomena to a spiritual source, they concede to us the fact of clairvoyance, it then devolves upon them to either accept the Kabbalistic explanation of what this faculty is, or achieve the task hitherto impracticable of making a new theory to fit the facts. The ancients were at no loss to discriminate between a blind force acting spontaneously and the same force when directed by an intelligence. Cicero, moved by a just wrath, exclaims, "And what can be more divine than the exhalations of the earth, which affect the human soul so as to enable her to predict the future? And could the hand of time evaporate such a virtue? Do you suppose you were talking of some kind of wine or salted meat? Do modern experimentalists claim to be wiser than Cicero and say that this eternal force has evaporated and that the springs of prophecy are dry? If a bar of iron can be endowed with magnetic properties by passing a current of voltaic electricity over some conductor placed in a certain way close to the bar, why not accept as a provisional theory that a medium may also be a conductor and nothing more at a seance? Is it unscientific to say that the intelligence of psychic force drawing currents of electricity from the waves of the ether and employing the medium as a conductor develops and calls into action the latent magnetism with which the atmosphere of the seance room is saturated so as to produce the desired effects? The word magnetism is as appropriate as any other until science gives us something more than a merely hypothetical agent endowed with conjectural properties. The devil affirms it must be a lie, the pious Abbé Almeguana used to say in a discussion with a spiritualized table. We will soon be warranted in paraphrasing this sentence and making it read, "Scientists deny, then it must be true."